Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal Part 341 based on novel. So let's start. Tuor Sen's punch after shattering a star was extremely powerful. Although he couldn't use many ancient god spells, which was due to the lack of inheritance of knowledge, just the power of his body was heaven-shattering. At this moment, the punch rushed forward and collided with the sword energy from Wang Lin's blood sword. The thunderous rumble shook the world, creating a powerful shockwave that spread to the surroundings. At the same time, the heaven-splitting axe aura that Wang Lin had forced out from his chest was thrown by Wang Lin toward the incoming Tuor Sen. The heaven-splitting axe aura erupted with heaven-shaking ancient god aura and the power to split the heavens itself. It closed in and collided with Tuor Sen's punch. Popping sounds echoed. Although Tuor Sen was strong, the blood sword had injured the ancient celestial emperor and had a mysterious origin. Ever since Wang Lin obtained it, it had been indestructible. Tuor Sen's body couldn't compare to how sharp the sword was. When his fist collided with it, blood sprayed everywhere, and at the same time, the heaven-splitting axe aura rushed into his arm. A series of rumbles echoed as it began a destructive rampage inside Tuor Sen's arm. The tired Tuor Sen revealed anger, and his body was unexpectedly stopped and he staggered back a bit. The moment his body stopped, the popping sounds inside his right arm became even louder. It was as if a destructive aura was going to charge out of his right arm. This was the first real confrontation between Wang Lin and Tuor Sen. Tuor Sen was stopped, but a portion of high punch still got through. It turned into a storm and closed in on Wang Lin's 10,000-foot body. The moment the punch arrived, Wang Lin's arm blocked before him. All of his ancient god power surged and blocked the punch. Wang Lin felt as if he was being hit by a cultivation planet, and he coughed out blood. He retreated back until he ran into an ancient god statue. Cracks began to spread out from where Wang Lin collided with the statue. Large amounts of ancient god aura came out and entered Wang Lin's body. It instantly recovered Wang Lin's physical injuries. Wang Lin grinned and his left hand patted the statue behind him. He stepped into space and his left hand and formed a fist. As he formed his fist, 7 milky white balls of light spread out from his left arm. An ancient aura filled the world. They were the 7 planet souls Wang Lin had extracted on his way here. Tuor Sen. Wang Lin roared as his left hand threw a punch. The 7 planet souls flew out with powerful force toward Tuor Sen, who paused for a moment. As they flew, 7 giant cultivation planet phantoms appeared. It was as if Wang Lin was controlling the 7 large cultivation planets to smash toward Tuor Sen. Tuor Sen's expression was gloomy. Back in the sealed realm formation, he had exploded 1 star, and in the battle just now, he had exploded another. He only had 6 stars left. According to logic, he should be only as strong as Wang Lin, but he was Tuor Sen and also ancient god Tu Sai. Tu Sai had been alive for far too long. This body was not a 6-star, but infinitely close to a 9-star ancient god. Although his stars had shattered, the power of his body was heaven-shaking. In addition, Tuor Sen was a genius to seal third-step cultivators into his stars to activate their power. Although he had exploded several, he still had 1 left from before and the woman he had just sealed, so he was still very powerful. As a result, he was not someone Wang Lin could resist. After all, Wang Lin had only obtained the inheritance of memory, while Tuor Sen had obtained the inheritance of power. Tu Sai's physical body would terrify anyone who saw it. Once you and I fuse, this god can reach the peak I had reached in the past. You can't resist this. Tuor Sen roared and then rushed forward. He waved his hand and threw a punch toward the 7 cultivation planet phantoms. Fuse with me so we can achieve the peak of my royal ancient god power. Why won't you obey? Tuor Sen roared as his fist collided with the 7 cultivation planets. Thunderous rumbles echoed. Every time they collided, Tuor Sen's roar became even more earth-shattering. It was as if nothing in the world could stop his advance. Those 7 cultivation planet souls trembled violently as if they were about to collapse. With a bang, one of the planet souls exploded from Tuor Sen's punch. It formed a powerful shockwave that spread out through the void. Even the moonlight that filled the star domain collapsed into countless specks and dissipated. Integrate with me so I can break open the law of inheritance and use my ancient god clan's powerful spells. This world is large, and my ancient god clan can rise to glory once more. You dare not obey. Tuor-sen seemed to have gone crazy, and 2 more cultivation planet souls were destroyed by him. You can't use the inheritance of knowledge at all. Even if you know the ancient god spells, you're powerless to use them. Only I, Tuor-sen, can use the spells of the ancient gods. The distance between Wang Lin and Tuor-sen instantly closed. Tuor-sen moved like a meteor, and the remaining 4 planet souls all collapse. The resulting thunderous rumbles became the only sound left in his world. Even Tuor-sen's roar was suppressed by these rumbles. Even though you have 6 stars, you don't have the inheritance of power or the strength essence. What right do you have to compete with me? In this world, only I, Tuor-sen, am a real ancient god, and only I am qualified to obtain all the inheritances. Tuor-sen roared as he charged at Wang Lin. The moment he closed in, Wang Lin's hands formed a seal and his left palm pushed forward. His eyes revealed a strange light, and all his origin energy and his ancient god power went into his left palm. A giant palm print appeared, and in an instant, all the origin energy in the area began to gather. Then the palm print turned solid and charged at the incoming Tuor-sen. You are merely a devil of 2 sai, yet you dare to call yourself a god. Wang Lin roared as the palm print closed in on Tuor-senator. Tuor-sen growled and raised his hand. He mercilessly tried to rip the palm print apart. Thunderous rumbles echoed and the void trembled. The star domain of the Moon Clan felt like it was going to collapse. The palm print was unexpectedly torn in half and split into 2 parts by Tuor-sen. After using the War Spirit print, Wang Lin didn't think it would stop Tuor-senator at the same time. He raised his left hand and placed it against Tuor-sen's right arm just like Master Lu Fu back then. He pointed at the back of his left hand with his right. It was as if endless origin energy was dragged into his left hand, and he began a frontal confrontation with Tuor-sen. A roar echoed as Wang Lin coughed out blood and a powerful impact hit his body. Popping sounds echoed inside his body as he was knocked back into another ancient god statue. Large amounts of ancient god power entered his body. Tuor-sen's giant body paused once more from Wang Lin's attack, but he continued to move forward. He opened his mouth and inhaled. A large portion of the ancient god aura here was absorbed by him. Weak, weak, weak. Wang Lin, this god has given you nearly 2,000 years to grow, yet you're still so weak. With a bang, Tuor-sen landed on the ground with all the ancient god statues. The moment he landed, the earth trembled violently. His right hand rose into the air, covering the sky, and reached toward Wang Lin. He didn't want to kill Wang Lin but capture him alive. The moment his hand closed in, Wang Lin absorbed the ancient god aura like crazy. The blurry 7th star vortex rotated rapidly as if it was going to solidify. The ancient god aura was divided into 2 parts. Wang Lin couldn't compare to Tuor-sen, but he still took almost 40% of it. As Tuor-sen's hand reached out, Wang Lin let out a roar and the ancient god power in his body surged. As his ancient god power surged, the blood sword flew out, giving out a monstrous red light. Ancient god spell, God punch. Wang Lin's roar was heaven-shaking. He wouldn't easily use ancient god spells, because they required large amounts of ancient god energy. He was an ancient god who had only lived for less than 2,000 years, he couldn't compare to 2 sai. However, after borrowing the dense ancient god aura, Wang Lin didn't hesitate to use an ancient god spell that a 6-star ancient god could use. God punch. Both his hands formed fists, with the blood sword in the center. Wang Lin's body turned into a vortex and shot at Tuor-sen's right fist. An ancient god shadow appeared as he collided with Tuor-sen's right hand. A thunderous rumble shook the world. God punch released all ancient god power in an instant to form a punch that could destroy the heavens. Tuor-sen's right punch trembled and he was forced into the air. Wang Lin's body sprayed out blood. He was covered in blood as he was knocked into the ground. Be destroyed by this god. Tuor-sen's right hand was numb and his mind was shaken. He didn't expect Wang Lin to grow so much in such a short period of time. He no longer used his hand, but the 6 stars between his eyebrows flew out to surround Wang Lin. He was going to devour Wang Lin like how he devoured third-step cultivators. At this moment of crisis, Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange light. He was waiting for this moment. Tuo Sen, do you think Tu Sai really died? What? After Wang Lin spoke, even the expression of someone as strong as Tuo Sen changed greatly. A great change suddenly took place. Do you think Tu Sai really died? These words were like a bolt of thunder arching across the sky. It entered Tuo Sen's mind and hit his weak point. Tuo Sen was extremely arrogant. He wasn't even afraid of the heavens. However, if there was one person he feared the most, it was Tu Sai. He was born from a devil in Tu Sai's heart and had always held unimaginable fear toward Tu Sai. Although he had controlled Tu Sai's body throughout these countless years, he had an incredible speculation. Did Tu Sai die or not? He wasn't sure, and he didn't dare to think about it, even though all signs pointed to Tu Sai being dead from the flowing ink transformation divine technique. If you want to devour me, you can try. When I, Wang Lin, die, that will also be the moment Tu Sai awakens. Then you will be annihilated as well. Wang Lin's voice echoed across the void. Tuo Sen's mind trembled and the 6 stars stopped rotating. A rare sign of hesitation and shock appeared in his eyes. Just as his mind was in chaos and the hesitation that shouldn't appear had appeared, a shocking change occurred in the Moon Clan's domain. Howling sounds came from the collapsed moonlight and a powerful aura came from all directions like a storm. This sound echoed across the entire Moon Clan domain. God Sealing Formation, open. An ancient voice filled with madness, excitement, and hidden fear echoed across the star domain. As his voice echoed, shadows appeared in the silent Moon Clan domain. There were men and women, and all of them had a crescent moon mark between their eyebrows. There were simply too many of them, no less than 100,000, and now they filled the surroundings. Each of them were in locations that had been calculated countless times to form this God-sealing formation. The God-sealing formation was used to seal gods. Ancient gods. Aside from the many cultivators, all the cultivation planets were placed according to this giant formation. When the old man roared, the entire world suddenly changed. The void was no more. It was replaced by moonlight. The world had disappeared only to be replaced by endless moonlight. A giant crescent moon appeared in the sky. Endless moonlight came out of it and enveloped everything. There was an old man of the Moon Clan sitting on each of the hundreds of cultivation planets in the star domain. Each of them activated their full power to allow the moonlight to reach a peak. For the Moon Clan, dead ancient gods couldn't compare to alive ancient gods, and a royal ancient god no less. This held shocking allure for them. If they could seal a living royal ancient god to become their slave, just thinking about it was enough to make any Moon Clan member's origin soul shake in excitement and let out a roar. Once they succeeded, the Moon Clan could rise up once more. In order to wait for this day, the Moon Clan had prepared for countless years so that one day, they could seal a living ancient god. When Tuo Sen arrived years ago, while they felt fear, they were also filled with excitement. They prepared the formation their ancestor had left, and waited for Tuo Sen's arrival. Originally, according to their understanding, as an ancient god, Tuo Sen would certainly seek out the Moon Clan. However, they waited for more than 10 years and Tuo Si didn't come. While the Moon Clan continued to wait, Tuo Sen finally arrived after being lured by Wang Lin. What made the entire Moon Clan excited was that there wasn't just one royal ancient god, but 2. The formation was activated and the world was covered in moonlight. This world of moonlight was a space the Moon Clan ancestor had created to seal ancient gods. Once trapped inside, it was extremely difficult to escape. Tuo Sen was still shocked by Wang Lin when the Moon Clan suddenly appeared and activated the formation. The moonlight shrouded the world, and this made Tuo Sen irritated. His 6 stars unexpectedly didn't devour Wang Lin. They returned to him. Then his right arm smashed into his surroundings. Thunderous rumbles echoed. The moonlight moved like silk and unexpectedly didn't collapse but instead twisted. The endless moonlight began to wrap around Tuo Sen and Wang Lin. It was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, it was as if a layer of silk had been wrapped around them. Tuor Sen's eyes shined brightly and he let out a roar at the sky. The ancient god roar spread out like crazy in this moonlight world as if it was going to collapse this world. However, as he roared, the moonlight twisted to form more silk that began to entangle him. Gentle moonslaughter, kill the ancient god's body, the ancient voice echoed, and in an instant, the amount of silk increased. It became sharp lines and began to attack. These silk lines were extremely tough, and as Tuor Sen struggled, even though large amounts collapsed, they formed even more. Summoning the Moon Clan's treasure, God Extinguishing Fan, the ancient voice echoed. The moonlight in this world began to gather to form a 1,000-foot fan. The moment it appeared, it mercilessly waved. Thunderous rumbles echoed and a monstrous storm containing endless moonlight shot toward Tuor Senator. Tuor Sen roared as he broke a large amount of silk and threw a punch at the incoming storm. Wang Lin was also surrounded by endless silk. The blood sword formed a vortex around him, cutting all the silk. However, the silk here was endless, and it was impossible to cut it all. At this moment, the God-extinguishing fan waved and the storm also hit him. When the roaring wind swept at Wang Lin, he retreated. As he retreated, the moonlight from the storm shot like swords and penetrated his body. If they were ordinary moonlight swords, Wang Lin could ignore them, but this moonlight contained the same aura as the heaven-splitting axe. It was extremely harmful to ancient gods. Tuor Sen was on the same boat. As he roared, his fist collided with the storm. The storm collapsed into countless swords that penetrated his body and left countless blood marks. Bold slaves, you dare to hurt this god? Now die. Tuor Sen was extremely angry. When he battled Wang Lin, he at least considered Wang Lin a member of his clan. However, these former slaves were like ants to him. And these ants had dared to injure him, so how could he not be angry? While furious, Tuor Sen seemed to become crazy as he unleashed a large amount of destruction in this moonlight world. However, the more he destroyed, the more silk formed. In the blink of an eye, the world was a blur and was enveloped by the silk. More than 10,000 Moon Clan members out of the 100,000 Moon Clan members coughed out blood and their bodies exploded because they couldn't withstand the rebound from the formation. They immediately died, but the crescent moon marks between their eyebrows flew out and landed on the formation. In an instant, those more than 10,000 dead Moon Clan members appeared as souls in the moonlight world. Use my clan's blood to raise the god spirit. Use my clan's souls to collapse the god spirit. The ancient voice was filled with madness. The 10,000 souls began to expand and form moons. This caused the moonlight in the world to reach a peak. These 10,000 moons rumbled, and more than half flew at Tuor Sen, while the remaining ones shot at Wang Lin, summoning the Moon Clan's treasure, Blood Moon Wings. Blood sacrifice. The ancient voice echoed once more. This time, many of the thousands of Moon Clan members appeared in the moonlight world. They were holding fierce beasts in their hands, and all of them were struggling and roaring. As the ancient voice echoed, those Moon Clan members all showed ferocious expressions and killed the fierce beasts. Large amounts of blood and flesh splattered, but they were immediately absorbed by the formation. These thousands of cultivators were merely the first wave. After them, several more waves of cultivators appeared and sacrificed fierce beasts. Even the moonlight world was now filled with bloodlight. As the bloodlight continued to condense, two blood-colored wings appeared and shot at Wang Lin and Tuor Sen, summoning the Moon Clan's treasure, Ancient God's 9 Bones. The ancient voice was very clear this time. A man in black appeared in the void outside the formation. His expression was filled with maddening greed. After the old man spoke, a giant spatial crack appeared before him and 9 giant ancient god skulls flew out. These 9 skulls gave off dense ancient god aura and were filled with crescent moon seals that were shrouded in moonlight. After they appeared, they shot into the formation and charged toward Wang Lin and Tuor Sen, summoning the Moon Clan's treasure, God-decaying liquid. The old man's white hair moved strangely. As he spoke those words, he bit the tip of his tongue and spat out black blood. The Moon Clan cultivators on the hundreds of cultivation planets that formed the formation bit the tips of their tongues and spat out black blood that contained a powerful stench. This blood seemed to have intelligence, and it gathered together, forming a sea of blood that contained a powerful stench. Then it rushed into the formation. Great Moon God Slaying Spell, Blood Moon Wings, Ancient God's 9 Bones, God Decaying Liquid. Every one of these treasures were extremely powerful. They were prepared by the Moon Clan throughout countless years to capture an ancient god alive. It has to be said that aside from the ancient gods, devils, and demons, the ones that understood the ancient gods the most was the Moon Clan. The Moon Clan had thought of countless methods to deal with the ancient gods. Tuor Sen's roar echoed inside the moonlight world. Facing the countless crescent moons, he waved his arms, and thunderous rumbles echoed as all the crescent moons that closed in on him collapse. The blood moon wings closed in and were also exploded by Tuor Sen with one punch. However, the blood moon wings turned into countless feathers that stabbed into Tuor Sen's body. What was even more powerful was the ancient god skulls. These skulls belonged to ancient gods that died countless years ago. They were like suns that crashed toward Tuor Sen. Wang Lin's expression was also gloomy as the blood sword circled around him. His hands formed all kinds of spells to resist the crescent moons. The blood moon wings flew by and turned into countless feathers that pierced through his body. Fresh blood covered his body. He couldn't even retreat, as that moonlight silk had wrapped around his body. As for the ancient god skulls, they didn't head toward Wang Lin. They were all focused on Tuor Senator. They created earth-shattering howls as they closed in on Tuor Sen and suddenly collapse. An indescribable impact instantly erupted. Even someone as strong as Tuor Sen coughed out blood, and his expression became even more ferocious. The Moon Clan was using everything they had saved up over countless years to capture an ancient god alive. The 9 ancient god skulls were the Moon Clan's clan-saving treasure. Each one of them was equal to a third-step cultivator exploding. The power of 9 of them collapsing at once was unimaginable. However, compared to them, the god-decaying liquid was even more precious. This god-decaying liquid was injected into every Moon Clan member at birth, and it came from an unknown source. Even the Moon Clan didn't know where it came from. They only knew that countless years ago, when they betrayed the ancient gods, it had successfully killed an ancient god before. After being nourished by the Moon Clan for countless years, the power of the god-decaying liquid was terrifying. At this moment, the blood sea created by the god-decaying liquid entered the moonlight world and surrounded Wang Lin and Tuor Senator. It formed a giant blood vortex. Wang Lin immediately felt the vortex melting his ancient god power, and a powerful sense of danger entered his mind. Tuor Sen's expression immediately became even more serious. However, these weren't the only things the Moon Clan had prepared. They had prepared for countless years, and this was merely a part of it. The old man stared at the formation as he roared, "Summon the Moon Clan's treasure, ancient god eyes." 2 blood-red eyes appeared in the formation. The eyes seemed to give off a powerful scent of blood, and they were looking at Tuor Sen and Wang Lin. "Summon the Moon Clan's treasure, giant spirit bell." A giant ancient bell appeared in the world. It rang fiercely, creating ripples that entered the formation. "Summon the Moon Clan's treasure, 9th extinction spirit." The old man's hands formed a seal and he let out a heaven-shattering roar. Blood came out of his orifices and his white hair moved strangely before him. A giant green phantom suddenly appeared. It was impossible to see the appearance of the phantom, but its entire body gave off a green glow. When Tuor Sen saw this, his pupils shrank. When Wang Lin saw this green light, he jumped. He vaguely recognized that the green light coming from the phantom was exactly the same as the aura from the ancient god skull under the demon spirit land. Every single treasure was made specifically for dealing with ancient gods. If they were used against third-step cultivators, they might be a bit lacking, but toward ancient gods, they were deadly. Tuor Sen jerked his body and let out a roar. A powerful impact pushed the sea of blood away and then he looked at Wang Lin. At this moment, he no longer hesitated. His 6 stars flew out toward Wang Lin. "After devouring you and completing the fusion, this god will break this sealing formation. Then I'm going to slaughter the Moon Clan until rivers of blood flow. Tuor Sen, I have 2 size memory inheritance. If you devour me, our inheritances will merge and 2 Sai will awaken. Do you not believe me? Give it a try." Wang Lin smiled coldly and didn't resist. He let the 6 stars close in as he stared coldly at Tuor Sen. These words hit Tuor Sen's weak point once more. He let out a mad roar and his eyes glowed red. You just want the knowledge of the spell that can destroy this seal. You don't have to devour me to do it. If we work together, it will be a win-win for both of us. While I, Wang Lin, am no match for you, if you remain stubborn, you will die once Tu Sai awakens. Are you confident in escaping from Tu Sai? At this moment, as the sea of blood closed in, the ancient god eyes gaze locked on, creating a powerful aura. The ripples of the bell closed in, and finally the phantom charged in with a destructive aura. There were also the countless moonlight silk threads surrounding the area. Both of us are ancient gods. How can we let these slaves seal us? If you believe me, we can deal with them first and then I'll naturally give you an answer. Wang Lin didn't even look at the treasures closing in as he waited for Tuor Sen's answer. Tuor Sen was afraid to gamble. He wasn't sure if Wang Lin's memories really did contain such a thing. However, even if it was false 9,999 times out of 10,000 times, as long as there was that a chance it was true, he wouldn't dare to risk it. Once he lost, Tu Sai would revive. He had no confidence facing Tu Sai, as he would without a doubt die. Tuor Sen clenched his teeth and growled, "Good." The way he saw it, once these slaves were dealt with, Wang Lin would have nowhere to run. He would capture Wang Lin and then have all the time he needed to slowly find out if what Wang Lin had said was true or not. If what he said is true, I'll simply give up the chance of becoming 9-star ancient god and destroy his inheritance of memory so there will be no chance of Tu Sai awakening. When Tuor Sen agreed, Wang Lin's hands formed seals and waved. At the same time, he chanted in the language of the ancient gods. When the world was born, the ancient order split into three. The first was the ancient gods. They walked against the heavens and battled against the world. They would ravage everything, destroy the heavens, and break the world. 8-star ancient god spell, void. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a strange light and the 6 ancient god stars between his eyebrows rotated like crazy. Ancient god power filled his hands. In an instant, as the various Moon Clan treasures closed in, a deformed rune appeared before his hand. Although this rune was incomplete, it gave off a heaven-shaking aura that could cause the heavens to collapse. This was an aura of destructive that could disintegrate all spells and even heaven itself. This was void. The ancient god's void power that could destroy the heavens and shatter the earth. Wang Lin roared, "Tuor Sen, ancient god power." Tuor Sen clenched his teeth and waved his right hand. His 6 ancient god stars rotated, giving off ancient god power several times more power than Wang Lin's. It rushed into the incomplete rune. In an instant, the rune began to move and went from incomplete to complete. The complete rune appeared in the world. This was a rank 8 spell, an ancient god spell that hadn't appeared in countless years. The expression of the old man outside the formation changed greatly. The rune suddenly gave off a bright light. This light was between black and white, it was completely grey. It spread like crazy with Wang Lin and Tuor Sen as the center. The god-decaying blood was pushed back, the ancient god eyes immediately exploded, the intense ripples immediately dissipated, and even the green shadow struggled for a moment before vanishing because it wasn't pure enough. The surrounding moonlight silk threads suddenly shattered. Everything was pushed back by the grey light. Invisible cracks formed in the moonlight world that formed the god-sealing formation. Summoning the Moon Clan's first treasure, ancient god remnant bone, the old man in white roared like crazy, and a giant spatial crack suddenly appeared. This spatial rift was ripped open wide, and an indescribable pressure came out from within. A finger the size of half a cultivation planet slowly came out of the spatial crack. There was no flesh or blood on his finger, only bones. This was a middle finger bone. Destroy God. The old man let out a heaven-shattering roar. At the same time, the 100,000 surrounding Moon Clan cultivators all released the same roar. Destroy God. When the Moon Clan betrayed the ancient gods, they had destroyed gods countless years ago. Now they still wanted to destroy gods, the gods that had helped them countless years ago. The roar of 100,000 people was earth-shattering. It spread as a powerful sound wave. This is the finger of a 9-star ancient god. At this moment, Tuor Sen's expression changed greatly. The moment the ancient broken finger bone appeared, the god-sealing formation collapsed and touched the broken finger bone. Thunderous rumbles echoed. Tuor Sen coughed out blood and he was thrown into the distance. Popping sounds came from Wang Lin's body as all the bones in his body broke. They were thrown in two different directions. The giant finger bone wasn't damaged at all when it landed. The moment they were thrown out, Wang Lin didn't hesitate to use the devouring spell. Black fog surrounded his body. Using the powerful impact, he rushed into the formation of people, and the black fog scattered. Miserable screams echoed as he began absorbing like crazy. Everywhere he passed, the Moon Clan members withered into skeletons and collapsed. Even further away, Tuor Sen roared and began his counterattack. After leaving the formation, Wang Lin knew Tuor Sen wouldn't let him go. At this moment, he was seriously injured, but he clenched his teeth and devoured like crazy. Not all of the Moon Clan members were strong. Most of the 100,000 people didn't last even one blow. Wang Lin howled as he moved and devoured countless people. His injuries recovered at an astonishing rate. All the bones in his body repaired themselves and his wounds rapidly recovered. The entire Moon Clan star domain was a mess. All those elders sitting on the cultivation planets coughed out blood when the god-sealing formation collapsed, but they all became focused. Their eyes started glowing red, then a portion of them went toward the black fog Wang Lin formed, while the rest charged toward Tuor Sen under the lead of the white-haired old man. The white-haired old man let out a roar and waved his right hand. His body began to expand and the crescent moon mark between his eyebrows rotated. His body was thousands of feet tall, almost equal to an ancient god. This was a spell their Moon Clan had created after countless years of research in an attempt to become ancient gods themselves. As they had absorbed ancient god power, they could simulate an ancient god to a certain extent. He wasn't the only person who turned into a giant thousands of feet tall. There were 9 in total. Once these 9 people turned into giants, they obtained terrifying power, and thunderous rumbles echoed as they battled Tuor Sen. However, they were not Tuor Sen's match at all. As Tuor Sen roared, they were all pushed back. When those old men got close to Wang Lin, he would merge with the world and disappear. Then he would reappear elsewhere and begin devouring like crazy. Mournful screams echoed through the void, and in just a moment, more than 30,000 Moon Clan members were devoured by Wang Lin. Most of his injuries recovered immediately. This time, without waiting for the Moon Clan elders to charge at him, Wang Lin pounced on them. Tuor Sen let out a roar. "Shatter for me." With a bang, one of the old men who imitated an ancient god exploded from Tuor Sen's punch. However, before his body could dissipate, black fog immediately wrapped around the old man. Wang Lin had already been paying attention to the battle here. He wrapped around the old man before he died and began devouring. The entire Moon Clan was a mess. The people of the Moon Clan quickly retreated, their faces filled with shock and horror. This was the first time many of them had laid eyes on a living ancient god, and the first time they saw how powerful an ancient god was. Although this was the first time Tuor Sen and Wang Lin had worked together, they understood each other well. However, this all broken when Tuor Sen's eyes turned cold and his right hand reached for Wang Lin after he blew up that old man. "I don't care if what you said was the truth or a lie. You won't be able to escape today." Wang Lin had already been on guard. When Tuor Sen's right hand reached over, he revealed a sneer. As he retreated, his hands formed a seal while the veins on his face bulged, and he let out a roar at Tuor Sen. "Ancient god spell, mysterious god star." As he spoke, his hand pointed to between his eyebrows. The 6 stars between his eyebrows began to rotate and then flew out. They formed a giant vortex. This scene was shockingly familiar to Tuor Sen devouring cultivators with his stars. Originally, Wang Lin couldn't use ancient god spells like this. He didn't have the ancient god power to support this, but he had calculated all of this. When he used the void spell, he had saved half of the ancient god power Tuor Sen had poured in. One half was used to cause Tuor Sen to become injured by the ancient god finger, and the second was being used right now. At this moment, this vortex appeared and gave off a powerful ancient god aura. All of Wang Lin's ancient god energy, as well as the portion he had saved from the earlier spell, was used on this spell. Tuo Sen's punch immediately collided with this vortex. Wang Lin coughed out blood and then quickly retreated. He raised his right hand and mercilessly sliced down with the blood sword. Tuo Sen also didn't feel good. He was injured in succession, and he didn't expect Wang Lin to use an ancient god spell. He felt an endless suction force coming from the vortex. A portion of his ancient god power inside his punch had been sucked away and used against his punch. His right arm felt numb and paused for a moment. At this moment, Wang Lin's blood sword sliced at his right palm. The sword swept by and Tuo Sen's index finger was cut off. Since the two had begun battling, this was the greatest injury Wang Lin had inflicted on Tuo Sen. Tuo Sen's eyes were filled with monstrous killing intent. At this moment, he didn't even think about devouring. All he wanted to do was kill this fellow clan member. However, just as Wang Lin and Tuo Sen began to battle, the elders injured by Tuo Sen immediately retreated. The person with the highest status was the white-haired old man. He had a ferocious expression, and blood was flowing down the corner of his mouth. He naturally saw that Wang Lin was no match for Tuo Senator. Once a winner was decided between the two ancient gods, then their moon clan would be doomed to die. Thus, he didn't mind helping Wang Lin. This was also his moon clan's opportunity. Fellow clan members, shatter your moon spirits and offer them as sacrifice for the moon clan. The old man's body immediately began to swell as he mercilessly pointed down and shouted in a hoarse voice, summoning the moon clan treasure again, ancient god remnant bone. The moment his words echoed, the moonlight around his body became monstrous. The ancient god finger that was stabbed deep into the ground suddenly rose into the air and charged toward Tuo Sen. This ancient god finger closed in extremely fast. Tuo Sen was being attacked from all sides and was facing many people. Due to his finger being cut off by Wang Lin, he was ferocious. He waved his hands and caught the giant ancient god finger. The veins on his body swelled as if his body couldn't bear the force. He let out a roar as his stars rotated rapidly. One of the stars contained a third-step cultivator, and he didn't hesitate to explode that cultivator. An explosive force filled Tuo Sen, and he slowed the finger down. He let out a roar as the 6 stars between his eyebrows flew out and formed a vortex. So this isn't the bone of a 9-star ancient god, but of someone infinitely close to 9-star. Devour for me. He was going to absorb this almost 9-star ancient god finger like a third-step cultivator into his stars. At this moment, aside from the female third-step cultivator he had just absorbed, there was no one else left. Even Wang Lin was deeply shocked by this. He couldn't help but feel fear toward Tuo Sen's madness. He had seen madmen before, but none of them were as crazy as Tuo Sen. The ancient god aura inside the finger was like the sun, it couldn't be absorbed at all. Even an ancient god would be like an ant before it. Wang Lin's eyes suddenly lit up and revealed a strange light. If he can absorb, I can as well. Wang Lin clenched his teeth. He wasn't willing to let this opportunity go, especially since Tuo Sen was devouring this ancient god finger, so it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Wang Lin had a decisive nature. Once he made a decision, he wouldn't hesitate. He no longer retreated and instead charged forward. He closed in on the ancient god finger and mercilessly chopped down with the blood sword. There was a thunderous bang and a crack was created by the blood sword. As Tuo Sen absorbed like crazy, it was split in half. The sharpness of the blood sword was terrifying. The finger suddenly collapsed and a powerful shockwave spread out. A majority of this force rushed toward Tuo Sen, causing him to let out a scream. When the impact hit his body, he coughed out a large mouthful of blood. His body quickly retreated and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The force pushed half of the finger into his star vortex, and it was sealed inside a star. However, Tuo Sen was too seriously injured, so he continued to cough out blood. But he didn't give up on chasing Wang Lin. He struggled to stop himself from being thrown back. At this moment, the star the female third-step cultivator was sealed in released a glaring glow. Tuo Sen's body trembled and his expression changed greatly. He unexpectedly abandoned the notion of chasing Wang Lin and quickly escaped while coughing out blood. The shockwave from the collapsed finger swept by. The white-haired old man from the Moon Clan was hit by the shockwave. Popping sounds came from his body, causing him to cough out blood, then his body collapsed. His weakened origin soul escaped for his life. The surrounding Moon Clan members that hadn't escaped were hit by this shockwave. They exploded as if a giant palm had swept by. Countless people died. As for Wang Lin, he also coughed out blood as he was too close to the finger. Although a majority of it was directed at Tu Sen, a good portion had gone toward Wang Lin. His body was unable to withstand it at all. However, the moment the shockwave closed in, Wang Lin let out a roar. A blue flame, heavenly thunder, karma, life and death, and true and false all erupted from his body. 5 essences appeared at the same time, forming a vortex to resist the shockwave. At the same time, Wang Lin's eyes flashed red and the G realm rushed out. Popping sounds continued to echo as Wang Lin's body continued to retreat. Carrying almost half of the ancient god finger, which was like a small cultivation planet, he began merging with the world. He was about to leave using spatial bending. However, the moment before he left, although his eyes were bloodshot and filled with exhaustion, there was still a flash of coldness within them. With a thought, a whip appeared around him. Soul Lasher. The moment the whip appeared, it immediately extended to infinite length and wrapped around the escaping origin soul of the white-haired old man. With a tug, the old man's origin soul was pulled back, then Wang Lin disappeared from the Moon Clan star domain while carrying the giant ancient god finger. It was a fruitful trip. This video will end here.